Hello and welcome to another C3 Stingray video. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so if you haven't hit the subscription button yet, hit the subscribe, the like, all that stuff, and thanks to all the people that have subscribed. I've gotten a lot more subscribers lately, which is nice. Today we're going to work on a heater core. And I don't care what kind of car you have, when you hear your heater core has gone out, if the floor is all wet on the passenger side or something's happening, your heater's no longer working and it involves replacing your heater core, you're not going to be happy. And it doesn't matter what kind of car you have, you're not going to be happy because it's going to involve taking your dash apart. But I just got a couple 84 Corvette parts cars in, and they're in pretty bad shape, but they're great for these videos on how to do things. So I thought I'm just going to do a step-by-step on how to take out this heater core. Now I've seen a few other videos on YouTube, and the one thing I don't like about them is they don't actually show you piece by piece what you're doing. They just kind of take everything apart, throw it in front of you and say, there, you need to take this apart. And I kind of go through step by step so you can kind of see how everything's coming apart. And like I said, I follow the GM procedure, but I might do a couple things out order, and I do take one other extra piece out you don't have to take out, but I talk about that later in the video. I'll just quit yapping and let's just jump into the video.
Be sure to disconnect your battery before starting this procedure. First off, you'll need to remove the cluster bezel. There should be 4 screws on this side and 2 more on the other side. I'm missing a couple screws here, and I'm missing the 2 on the other side where the bezel is broken. But those should be Phillips screws in all those spots. And you also need to take off the knob on the headlight. So once this one's missing, but if you had one on there, you would just twist it till you see a little gap and there's a little metal tang there. Just take a flathead screwdriver and push that and just pull the whole knob off. See, I'm taking the screws out now. I only have 2 screws holding this whole thing in. But you also need to take off the tilt lever. The tilt lever on the column, you can just simply twist that off by hand and take that, get that out of the way to get that cluster bezel off. Now we're going to move to the center bezel. There should be 2 more screws on the other side. We've got 2 screws on the bottom and 2 screws on each side on the top. But as we know, we already took the 2 out on the one side for the other cluster bezel. The other ones were missing. Okay, underneath we now have all the screws that are holding down the dash pad. There's 3 right here. These are all Phillips screws. And there should have been 2 more in the center, but this one's missing those 2. You can see right here there should have been 2 more. Now we're going to go to the top where there's 2 on each side of a vent on the top. To be honest, the majority of these I've taken out. Those are the only 2 screws ever holding it in. This one actually had more than most. But you know, these are 40-year-old cars, so you're going to be missing screws. You're going to have zip ties. You're going to have all kinds of weird stuff going on with these cars because a lot of people have messed with them and a lot of people have done things to them. Once you get those screws out, you kind of give it a little jerk because there's a couple clips in the front holding it in place, and then also you may or may not have speakers, and you're going to need to disconnect those speakers. Here's a better look at this. You can see the screws. These are the 3 holding it there, and then there should have been 2 more in the center. You had those 2 on each side of the vent in the front, but you also, those are the clips I was talking about. Those kind of grab a hold in the front, and you should have plugs on both these speakers. Mine were kind of messed up, but if you have speakers, there'll be plugs on them. Sometimes there's no speakers up there. A lot of times there's no speakers up there, so it just depends on your car. Now we need to remove the AC distribution duct and disconnect the flex hose. We're going to have to remove this bar also to get that duct out of there. And there's 1 screw holding the duct on. These are all 7 millimeters. They're pretty easily accessible. I really like using this long extension I have. It really helps me out a lot. But we're going to take those out. get that bar out of the way and take that one off that duct, and then with that flex hose you can just like push it back and pop that off the center. There's a lot of leeway there. And so you can pop that out, and then we're going to take that flex hose out of the way. Now we're getting a little bit more access to where we need to go, but we still have a ways to go here. We need to take the hush panel off now. And in this case, I only have 2 screws holding this on. They're both Phillips screws. You may have Phillips screws, you may have 7mm screws, but there should be 4 of them in there, not just 2 like mine. But whatever it is, you got to do it, and then you got to disconnect that light. So here's a better look at it. There should have been 3 screws there, and then 1 in the back. And then you flip it over and you can see where you have to unplug that light to get that off. Now we're moving to the side. We have to remove the side window defrost flex hose. So you should open your fuse box door, take that off, and then take the screws off holding that plate around the fuse box. That'll give you access to the 2 screws holding that flex hose in. Once you get those 2 screws out, the flex hose comes out of there pretty easy. You can kind of pull it out of the way. This one was missing the actual fuse door cover, but it's just a little twist knob. You open it up and it pops right out. Now we're going to take out the ECM. This is really important that you disconnected your battery before you do this. So that should have been the first thing you ever did, was disconnect your battery. There's 4 7mm screws holding this on, and you can see I'm using like a little flexible extension. Just makes it easier, but these are pretty easily accessible without the dash pad on. Take those 4 out, and then you can slide it down and disconnect the wires. But you really want to have that battery disconnected before you do this. As you see, it's on the ground now. I had to like feed it down through the wires. You kind of had to mess with it. Kind of lost that video, but if you push down on that tab and push it out, you can do it by hand. I'm doing it with a screwdriver here, but you just got to push down on the plastic and then push it right out. After removing all this, we have a lot more access, but I'm going to do an extra step here that you do not have to do, and I'm going to remove that padded bolster underneath, because there's just 4 nuts holding that in place, and these nuts are pretty easily accessible right now. So I'm going to remove it kind of because it's going to be easier for you to see in the video, but it gives you a ton more room to work too. So this isn't something that has to be done to get this out, so you can either do it or not do it. That's really your choice, but I just think it's going to make it easier for this video to take this out of the way, because as you can see now, we can see much better and there's a lot more room to work in. Now we're getting a better view of the cover that covers the heater core, and we're going to have to remove this control arm. This is that controls the blend door, and this pipe here. There's 2 screws, 2 7mm screws on each item. I'm taking this controller off first. That goes to your heater control that opens and closes the blend door. As you can see, there's a rod in there. It's kind of hard to see in this shot, but you want to pop that rod out of that clip, but you want to make sure you put it back in the same spot you popped it out of. So you want to get a good look at it and make sure you put it back the same way. And here's a little bit better look at the clip, but I'm going to take it out just to show you more close-up of how it's set up. Okay, here it is out of the car, and that rod there would go to the blend door, and if you push this all the way to hot, it's going to pull that all the way out, which makes it a little easier to access. And then you want to pop it out of that clip. It'd be great if you could just pop the whole clip out, but it's really hard, and you might be able to, but it seems to be easier just to pop the rod out of the clip. And once you do that, this is not attached to anything. Once you do that, it will stay attached to the blend door, and you'll be able to just leave it right there. As you can see, once the rod's out, you can pull that clip out really easily. And you need to be careful with this because they do break. I mean, this 40-year-old car, plastic, things break, and you can't buy this clip anywhere anymore. They don't make it anymore. And as you can see, here's the rod. You want to make sure you put it back in there the same. And I read in a forum that you can get this Dorman 75450, which is an assortment of clips. Supposedly the black one was an exact fit. Some people have tried it and they say that that will replace that clip if for some reason you do break it. So you do have this option. Now I'm taking the 2 screws out of that heater pipe because that's got to be pulled out and kind of set out of the way. And now we still have a crossbar. It's like a dash support bar. There's 2 bolts holding that on. There's one on the bottom and it kind of angles up to the top. They're both pretty easily accessible. This bar has to be removed, and it's kind of hard to see in this video, but I mean it's easy. Once you're under the dash you'll see it really easily. And as I said, I'm doing the top bolt with a ratchet wrench. That's the easiest way to get that one out. And that's it there. You can see it here in this shot of what it actually looks like. Now we got to take these screws out. That actually is the cover, the heater core cover. This is what we've been working towards this whole time. And I'm trying to point out all the screws. They're once again 7mm. But I was actually, one of them I couldn't see. So I've got those on the bottom. I'll give you a better shot of it once it's off to show you where all these screws are. But there was one up on the top on the right that I just could not see. And I finally figured out where it was and got it. And once I popped that out, this thing came apart pretty easily. Once you get it out, you got to feed it through these wires. And there's one wire it's actually attached to it, like with a clip, that you're going to have to take off to get that cover all the way out. Or you really don't even have to take it all the way out. You could just leave it lay there on the floor because it's not really going to be in your way once you get it down. So you could just leave it right there. But here it is off, and I had these 2 on the bottom. There's one on the side. There's one on that top, and that was the one I couldn't see. It was kind of hard to get to and hard to see. But it came out pretty easy. And we can actually see the heater core now. There it is in all its glory. But now we got to go to the outside. Now we're out on the firewall where the heater core actually attaches to the hoses. I'm going to cut these hoses off. You're going to have to replace these hoses when you put your new heater core in. So I'm just cutting these. And then you have to pull the rest of that hose off of the actual heater core. You can't leave anything on there because it will not pull through. It's a tight fit as it is. Now here on the heater core there's one more bracket. Once again, more 7mm screws holding this little bracket on the bottom of the heater core. You got to take that out, and we're getting very close to being finished here. Once that's off, you just have to kind of wiggle it back and forth because you have that foam around the pipes going through the firewall, so it's kind of in there pretty good. But if you just keep kind of working it, it'll eventually pop out. And there it is. And there's the heater core in all its glory.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Putting this back together is basically the reverse of taking it apart. The only thing I would say is once you get that cover on and that blend door set up with the rod, double check that before you go any farther after that to make sure that blend door is opening and closing correctly, because you don't want to put everything back together and find out, oh, this isn't working, and then you got to take it all apart to get back to that, which would suck. So make sure that's working good. I got more videos coming up. That 75 wide body I have. I hope to do a couple more videos with these 84s I have. I got some movie reviews, some toy reviews, some history stuff, some games. I got all kinds of stuff. The only thing I don't have is time. But I'm trying to piece more time in there so I can get these things out, because I enjoy doing this and I'm really happy for all the subscribers I have so far. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that notification button. If you need any new or used C3, C4, C5 Corvette parts, go to my website at c3stingray.com. And I guess that is it. I will see you on the road.